Recording in progress. Back up, I guess it was, I was asking Lori, about a month ago, we had the announcement in the courtroom. I made the statement then, you all are here because I think we all recognize the reality of the fact that the pervasiveness of mental illness and substance use disorder and intellectual disability in our society is undeniable. And you're here because I know you all in your individual capacities, wherever you're coming from, understand that as deeply or more deeply, certainly than I do. But for courts, I can speak from that perspective for sure. In our criminal justice system, this is a crisis time for criminal justice because it has become, it is the default system. I was talking to someone from the hospitals today. The hospitals feel the same way. They become the default system, though, for people who become justice involved and suffer from mental health disorders. You know, our state prisons and our jails all across the Commonwealth are full of people who fit this category. And it's no exaggeration to say that these penal institutions are indeed the largest mental institutions in the Commonwealth. And so we've come together to address that. So we're here to do some very important work. And I look around the room at the variety of perspectives and what a healthy variety of perspectives it is. I see around the room, also across the screen, we have a number of members of the commission participating virtually, and we're pleased that you're here as well. I don't know if you can see from where you're sitting at your desk and looking at the screen, but this is a room full of people together to begin to address this problem. We recognize that improving the lives of Kentuckians who are affected by mental illness and substance use disorders and intellectual disabilities who are involved in the justice system involves complex interdisciplinary evaluation solutions that we have not ever come up with before. This group can do that. I'm just so sure of that. And so I am pleased to just, I'm going to do this introduction because it's a heartfelt welcome and really a heartfelt welcome to the task that's out before this group. I'm honored to be a part of it. I am so pleased that my colleague, Justice Debbie Lambert, who has some background and actually some training in the areas that are affected here, not to mention her judicial experience as a family court judge and justice, judge on the Court of Appeals and now justice on our Supreme Court. A lot of background to lead this. So I'm really pleased that she immediately said yes as soon as we said, would you be willing? She said yes, and I'm pleased that she did. So I'm going to turn it over to Justice Lambert, but welcome to all of you. We're pleased that you're here. Debbie?
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for your willingness to get Kentucky on the road to better mental health and better treatment and better use of our resources for those who are involved in the justice system and are perhaps more in need of mental health services than they are justice services. But you all look fantastic from this perspective. As I was sitting here and looking around, I thought, wow, what a great picture it is to see each of you today. I see lots of old friends and some new friends, and I'm not going to take up a great deal of time here with introductory remarks because I want to hear more about each of you. But today, I do want to talk with you and give you the charge, a couple of charges here. First of all, the stakes are extremely high. We're dealing with very important issues. We're dealing with very real people with decisions to be made that affect lifetimes and generations. And we want those decisions made at our level, at the court level, and certainly at this larger level of the commission to be thoughtful and intelligent and made from a good place. And that's why each of you were chosen. Each of you were chosen for a reason and for good reason. And we're happy to work with you on this. And we don't have a lot of structure to today because this is our first meeting. We want to take some time to introduce ourselves to each other. In your handouts, there is a copy of the order, and the order does give a bit of a description, a very brief description, if you will, of some of you and what your role is in the field. So that can be helpful, but in a minute, we're going to let you introduce yourself briefly and tell us a little bit about you and what you expect your work here might involve. We want you to be able to be candid when you're working with the commission. One of the things that I used to try to do as a family court judge is I always tried to have what is called a strengths-based approach. And that is to say something positive often, more often than I said something negative. But you can be both candid and constructive in your committee work. Otherwise, we'll put you on a committee that I'm calling the D&D committee. That's the Doom and Disappointment Committee. It's not officially there, but we've laughed about that today and in days past, because we all know people that could be on that. And if we've accidentally put some of you on here, we'll shift you over into that committee if it gets too negative. We know that we do some things well. We know that you all do things well too in your line of work if you're not part of the judiciary, but all of us can improve everything we do as well. So that's what we're going to look toward today. I'm very excited that we're going to take some time to look at this both in a global way and in a very intimate way. And you can be so important with your brainstorming ideas, and I'm going to give you all some homework if you want homework. Some of you all are nerdy enough to want homework. There's a web page, an organization called the National Center for State Courts. And if you want to make a note, I'm not sure that's in your materials, but if you go to ncsc.org/mental health, you will be able to find a lot of resources and a lot of hyperlinks to various parts of this work that is being done throughout the country that might pique your interest and might help you think a little bit more in an organized fashion. And again, before I move away from my introductory remarks, Chief Justice Minton will be retiring this year, and he could have very easily ignored his national meeting work where they were talking about, oh, you know, there's a state or two who's trying to build a mental health commission. You might think about doing that. It would have been easy for Chief Justice Minton to just kind of coast on by and leave this piece of the work undone. But he has not done so. And I want to thank him personally for working right up to the last day and working on good work. Thank you, Chief, so much. We're going to miss that and miss you. Now, I'm not sure, where's Rachel? How do we do the introductions? Do you have some exciting way to do that?
We figured we would start on the top right and just work the line all the way around. That's okay.
Okay, so interpretive dance is not required, but it might be more interesting if you add that.
So my name is Sarah Johnson. I'm the Director of Addiction Services for the Department of Corrections. So I oversee the substance use disorder services that are provided to the incarcerated population, as well as the population under community supervision. My background, I have a master's in social work, and I'm a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor, as well as a licensed certified social worker. I've worked in the field of criminal justice and substance use and mental health for about 16 years now. And I'm excited to be here and have a voice at the table.
Hello, I'm Erica Hargis. I'm the director of the Division of Probation and Parole within the Department of Corrections. We service about 48,000 clients in our community currently, and so I'm sure there's a lot with mental health needs. We supervise some mental health courts established by AOC across the state, and we have specialized officers there. I'm excited to have a voice at the table so that we can get some better training for our officers on how to deal with the clients that we serve, and to just have a say from the perspective of the Department of Corrections. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Lindsay Jasinski. I am the Chief Administrative Officer at Eastern State Hospital. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist by training and very excited to be here to be a part of this group. As most of you know, we serve the population with serious mental illness and work and intersect with many different organizations. We serve 15 counties through Eastern States and have seen increases in our census and need as well. So we're excited to be part of this group.
I'm Nancy Hale. I'm President CEO of Operation Unite, Unlawful Narcotics Investigations, Treatment, and Education. We serve a 32 county region in southeastern Kentucky. Through our program, we serve the entire state through this Kentucky Health Statewide Call Center that we staff, and also through many of our prevention education programs. In all aspects of our work, whether it's law enforcement with our many partners in that, whether it is helping people move into long-term residential treatment with a voucher from Operation Unite, or the prevention programs that we're in the school nearly every day of the school year, we see the need for this collaboration and to develop, because the mental health issues with intellectual disabilities and the substance misuse that we're confronted with every day has increased the need for us to be doing more in Kentucky. So we're very excited to be here and a part of this.
My name is Stephanie Evans Kingsley. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. We currently have a pilot happening in Russell County where we are marrying workforce education and training services with the court system in Russell District Court and providing an entire team of support with mental health, education and training, workforce services, substance abuse, to everybody in a diversion program, as well as providing services in the detention center. And that pilot's getting ready to expand into Laurel, Pulaski, and Hart counties. And so we've been very involved in this space and in this work, and just really excited to be here.
All right, I'm Cole Adams, Mayor. I'm a circuit judge from the 25th Circuit, which is Clark and Madison counties. I'm a presiding drug court judge and doing some committee work related to specialty courts right now. And I'm most excited to see what an interdisciplinary approach to this ongoing problem, is going to do for our communities, for our states. I'm very excited to be here with you all.
I'm Foster Cutoff. I'm a district judge in Christian County. We have Western State Hospital, which serves the 34 westernmost counties in the Commonwealth. So we have a lot of mental health cases that come through our jurisdiction. Christian County is also a pilot county for the Senate Bill 90 behavioral health diversion program. And we are one of the 4 counties that are doing the assisted outpatient treatment pilot. Our term just started August 1st. We still have not had a petition yet, but we are looking forward to getting started on that. Thank you.
I'm Judge Stephanie Burke. I am a district court judge in Jefferson County, and I'm the president-elect of the Kentucky District Judges Association. I've operated a drug court since 2012, and I operate Kentucky's first AOT court under Tim's Law. It's for court-ordered assisted outpatient treatment. I'm very excited after passage of House Bill 127 and to be on this committee to see us address the issue of the over-incarceration of the seriously mentally ill population in Kentucky. As a district court judge for the last 12 years, obviously, and I probably speak for every district court judge, that is something that we see every day, and it's something that we have not had a tool to address that problem with. And I think with AOT, it's something that we can begin to use to try to reduce that problem. So I'm very excited to be here. I'm Lisa Jones. I am a circuit judge in the 6th Judicial Circuit, which is Davis County. I also run mental health court in Davis County and drug court in Davis County. And we are also a pilot site for the AOT Thames Law Court. We're getting ready to hopefully start accepting petitions soon in that. And we're also a Senate Bill 90 pilot site.
I'm Stacy Bruner. I'm Trimble County Circuit Court Clerk. I'm also Vice President of our Circuit Clerks Association. I'm thrilled to have a seat at this table because Trimble is a rural county, and I find myself not only in the association, but in many facets. I'm a cheerleader for the small county, the rural county, and we see a lot of health disability issues that go hand in hand with substance abuse issues. And we are at the front counter of family members trying to get help for their loved ones or dependents themselves who are having those issues that we just don't have the right tools for yet. So thank you for having me.
I'm Linda Avery. I'm president of the Kentucky Association of Circuit Court Clerks. I am also the circuit clerk in Callaway County and have been so for the last 16 years. Prior to that, I was a paralegal for 27 years. I'm excited to be at this table, just like everybody else has said, based on the fact that we see people every day who are coming in with substance abuse disorder. Also, they have a dual diagnosis in mental health, and we do not have the tools at our counter right now to help them.
Hello, I'm Lisa Lee. I'm the Commissioner of the Kentucky Department for Medicaid Services. Currently, 1 out of every 3 individuals in Kentucky is enrolled in the Department for Medicaid Services, and we are the largest payer of behavioral health services in this state. So as such, we have a large role in assisting this committee with developing policies and procedures to help individuals get care. We currently have an 1115 waiver pending with the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services that will help us provide care to justice-involved populations prior to release. We think that's going to be a huge benefit for those individuals once they're released to help them get on the right foot. And so I'm very pleased to be here at the table to help this committee determine where the gaps are in care and how we can build a better system of care for those individuals that need mental health and behavioral health services through the Kentucky Department for Medicaid Services.
Good afternoon. I'm Marta Miranda-Straub. My role is Commissioner for the Department of Community-Based Services, and we're in 120 counties and provide basic need and social services, child welfare, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're big and we do a lot. I am also a mental health and substance abuse professional, and I've done that work for over 30 years, including residential and outpatient work. So I bring that clinical expertise as well. And I'm also a grateful recovering alcoholic and addict, opiate and alcoholism. So I bring that lived experience as well. I think it's really important to have that voice at the table. Mine is probably not as sharp as it could have been 40 years ago. But you know, I polished the edges and I'm here sitting with all of you. So I'm really honored to be at the table, really excited about putting all these brains together and figuring out structurally what do we need to do for the folks that are suffering and the families that are suffering as well. I'm a deep believer in intersectionality and believe that trauma is the gateway drug. So therefore mental health and substance abuse are linked very, very passionately together. So I think adding both the mental health and the substance abuse in the same bucket is a really important way to start to look at these really complex issues. So honored to be with you all and really, really excited and hopeful about the impact we can make on folks in the state of Kentucky. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brenda Rose, and I'm the Executive Director with the Kentucky Chapter of National Association of Social Workers, which is the largest social work association in the country. This is quite a way to kick off my 41st year as a social worker. And absolutely, I'm proud and privileged to be part of this and to really be able to look at it through the biopsychosocial spiritual lens. So thank you all so much.
My name is Chris Griffith. I am the program manager for Family Life Counseling Service, which is the program of the Christian Appalachian Project, the Human Service Agency in South Central and Eastern Kentucky. Have 25 years in the field as a licensed professional clinical counselor supervisor. In terms of background, I am the past president of the Kentucky Mental Health Counselors Association, as well as a past member of the Kentucky Board of Licensed Professional Counselors with 2 years as chair. That said, it's a tremendous honor to be counted among, as I look around the room, all you distinguished professionals. I look very much to forward to the work ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Moore Murphy, and I'm a district court judge in the 22nd Judicial District, otherwise known as Fayette County. And I am excited to be here. I'm excited to learn, and that's my whole goal, is to be here, is to learn. I get the pleasure of serving on the Restore Committee, but also my colleague and benchmate and my friend, Judge Lindsay Hughes Thurston, and I created a juvenile treatment court, and we kicked off just at the beginning of this year, focusing on addressing those mental health needs of our young offenders, specifically getting them to overall wellness. We know, again, as Dr. Miranda Straub said, that there's an intersectionality as it relates to mental health as well as substance use, and we see it often and every day in our young folks in our community. And so I'm just excited on how we get to deal with those adverse childhood experiences that our kids are going through to hopefully get them in the best place possible, that they live a restored life.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Mullins, and for the last 13 years, I've been district judge in Letcher County, Kentucky. District court in Letcher County. Over those 13 years, working with a number of community partners, such as Operation Unite, has been able to get 779 residents of my county, who are mostly justice-involved participants, into inpatient treatment. And we're very proud of that number. And it's not just a number, but we're proud of the work that we've done because it's all been based on education and determination. We've never received any grant funding or any assistance. So we're proud of those numbers. In 2018, working with Addiction Recovery Care, I developed, we were the first county to implement their community liaison program, which has now been implemented in 50 other counties in the state and 1 county in Ohio. Last year alone, that program, which involves having a peer support person at the courtroom who's stationed there both for the community justice involved participant, as well as the community, offer answers as to how to get the treatment. Last year, that program got 4,752 people in inpatient treatment for substance abuse. So my participation in this committee, I think, will mainly be geared towards the substance use portion of it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Flynn. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Association of School Superintendents. I'm in my 4th year in this role after serving 16 years as school superintendent in Kentucky. As I work with and talk with many of the 171 school superintendents in our state, I hear a lot about the challenges they're facing in their schools with mental and behavioral health. We are excited to be here and a part of this, and I applaud the folks that have brought us together and look forward to us putting our heads together, collaborating and finding some ways to make some meaningful progress in the state, improve some outcomes. One of our top priorities has been around school safety and resiliency, and we've worked closely with our legislature and appreciate their efforts to help us and invest in this space. There's many good things that have happened, but we have a lot of work yet to do, and appreciate you all being here and look forward to the work.
Hello, I'm John Tackett, and I serve as a Fayette District Court judge along with my friends Judge Murphy and Judge Thurston. Since coming to the bench, I've served as the mental health court judge. That was beginning in 2018. Let me share with you also that that was important for me, and I asked for that assignment because I have close family members who live with serious mental illness, so it's very much a personal issue for me as well. So I suspect many of this group probably have the same. We have 90% of our folks who are in our mental health court have co-occurring substance use disorders. So that's, a significant factor in what we do with them. We have a wonderful interdisciplinary team that has been able to help many folks graduate from that mental health court. We also, in Fayette County, in addition to the juvenile mental health court that Judge Murphy and Judge Thurston do, we're going to be a pilot project for the Thames Law. So we're excited about taking those referrals and getting that started. So I'm just hopeful to learn from you all and excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Wes Butler. I'm here as a representative of the Kentucky Hospital Association. I'm a private practice attorney representing hospitals for the better part of about 20 years or so. There was a lot of excitement from the Hospital Association and this commission was now, because each year there's been sort of a gradual concern of a crisis growing and growing within our hospitals regarding mental illness and health. And to see the commission being formed, we see it not only as time, but an opportunity to get ahead of the curve situation which we become quite very quickly. So a lot of appreciation for Justice Minton, Justice Lambert, and AOC and the commission for creating this opportunity for dialogue.
Good afternoon. I am Representative Kim Mosier. I chair the House Health and Family Services Committee and have really been honored to work with so many partners that I see around this table today. It's just a wealth of knowledge that we have here, and I'm excited to get started on what I see as a real opportunity in understanding the intersectionality of all of the issues that we're dealing with. My background is nursing. I served as a neonatal intensive care nurse for a lot of years before I came into the legislature, and served as the Northern Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy Director. And so I do have some knowledge and have worked with many of you here on some projects. Proud to have been part of passage of some really important legislation. But we are chipping away at this, and I think it's really important that we come together in this way to establish a real voice that is representative of so much that we see. My goal is to just help advance any legislative policy decisions that are made here, help develop some of that language, and just help advance some policies that really make a difference in the lives of so many Kentuckians who are genuinely struggling. We do see an over-incarceration, of course, of folks who would otherwise be better served in the community with affordable housing options, better treatment options, and so forth. So I'm very excited to be part of this and really honored to have been asked to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Laurie Gibbons. I am the director of the Administrative Office of the Courts, and I think really my role here is to sort of represent the support that the AOC is going to provide to this commission and to each of the committees that you will hopefully serve on. I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts. We've got a lot of folks in this room who are going to be providing a tremendous amount of support to each of you so we can help move things along. I do want to say, sort of as a matter of housekeeping, these binders are sort of going to be our Bibles for our meetings. So bring those back. We'll be supplementing these with each meeting and through your committee work. We did an initial survey, just kind of getting thoughts, and I think we'd heard from a few folks who may not have received it. So we've got a little one-page survey in the front cover of your binder. As this meeting goes on, it's 3 easy questions. Give everybody an opportunity to fill that out again, and we'll compile the results and put that back together. But there is a one-pager that shares some of the initial survey results that we received. So reach out to any of us anytime you have thoughts. There's a lot of work to be done. This feels unprecedented.
My name is Larry Thompson. I'm an appellate judge on the Kentucky Court of Appeals. I represent the 7th Appellate District. I represent 33 counties. I used to say in Eastern Kentucky, but I think I branched out after this last legislative session of the board, but I've had the pleasure of serving as a judge in Kentucky for 27 years. I had 4 years as a district judge, 20 years as a family court judge, and the last 4 years on the Court of Appeals. I will say this, it is a pleasure to serve with this committee. I think this is something that has been needed for years in our state. And relating back, Justice Lambert and I were talking earlier to our family court days. One of the best things we had in family court was our advisory council, where we brought those members of our community together, and we really came up with some fantastic ideas that we were able to implement locally. Hopefully, with the support of this group, we can come up with some ideas that we can implement statewide.
Good afternoon. My name is Rabbi Shlomo Litvin. I'm the director of Chabad of Bluegrass, Central Kentucky's branch of Chabad Lubavitch, largest Jewish organization in the world, which runs both student centers, synagogues, as well as programs disenfranchised and those in need. My background is, besides the religious perspective, I bring the scholarship and the writings of Rabbi Menachem Lashmirson, Lubavitcher Rebbe, my personal mentor and the foremost Jewish leader of the modern era, who spoke extensively on mental health, especially as it intersects with the judicial system, ensuring that that system is a system both of health and of justice, the root word of judiciary, and making sure those two goals are met, that we're caring for people and that we are ascribing justice to those people. I'm incredibly honored to be on the group. I'm already a huge fan of quite a few people who are on this committee. So thank you, Chief Justice Lambert. I'm very honored to be here. Hope to see that we can do it.
Hello, my name is Melanie Cunningham. I'm very, very glad to be here. I'm the executive director for NAMI Kentucky. NAMI is the acronym for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I've been the director a little over 5 years, and our mission statement is to provide support, education, advocacy, and training to those suffering from mental illness. All of our services are free. We also provide those same services to the caretakers and loved ones. And we've been around since the 70s. We're probably the largest grassroots mental health service in the whole United States. We have about 30 affiliates in Kentucky. These are all volunteer-based. And we have about 5 NAMI on campuses, and we're growing. In my little over 5.5 years, we are constantly bombarded with calls, emails about families in the penal system, individuals. What do we do? How to navigate? Every county is different. Every city is different. So we're very glad to be here today so that we can help our clients and then also give a voice to some of the needs and concerns. So again, my name is Melanie. I'm with NAMI Kentucky. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Terry Brooks with Kentucky Youth Advocates. Our vision is for Kentucky to be the best place in America to be young. And we know for us to realize that vision, we not only have to have reform in the executive branch and the legislature, but we've got to have reform in the judiciary as well, which is why we really appreciate the leadership of Chief Justice, Justice Langford and AOC in establishing this. When we look at this issue from a kid's perspective, we see 2 major arenas. Obviously, this issue impacts young people who themselves are involved in the juvenile justice system. The second, and in some ways just as vital focus, is that if today is a typical day in America, the highest percentage of children with incarcerated parents of any state in the nation is Kentucky. And as Commissioner Straub and Representative Mosier have heard us talk about that a lot, that really is a shared sentence. So if you're a little boy or a little girl and your mom is incarcerated, you're incarcerated too. So the potential that this commission has to begin to address those issues is huge, and we appreciate being part of it.
My name is Judge Bo Leach. I am the district judge for the 23rd Judicial District of Estill and Owsley County. My jurisdiction does not have family court, so much like what he said, I get to see how the parents, when they end up in my district court for a criminal related matter, how many times there's also a dependency, neglect, or abuse petitions filed, and how it affects the entire family. In addition, two of my counties, Lee and Housley, are not just the poorest counties in Kentucky. They're routinely ranked as the top 2 poorest counties in the nation, depending on what metrics you use. So with all due respect to Frank Sinatra, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. If you make it in Lee and Housley County. So our challenges, the challenges that we face, if we can start to meet those in our jurisdiction, I believe every rural or city jurisdiction in the state will also be addressed with that.
Good afternoon, I'm Tony Wilder. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Council of Area Development Districts, and I represent the 15 area development districts across this state that provide some important and a wide array of important services to our state and local government, and a number of important social services to our local communities. I began my public service career as a probation parole officer, and also served Walton County as its circuit clerk and county judge executive, and also was the commissioner of the Department of Local Government under Governor Steve this year. And Chief, I just want to applaud you for this initiative, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Good afternoon, I'm Stacy Tacky, the Kenton County Attorney, and for about 8 more days, the President of the Kentucky County Attorneys Association. I'm delighted that you're addressing mental illness. I don't think there's anything that probably impacts the work that county attorneys do much more than this, from involuntary hospitalizations, guardianships, our work as prosecutors, our work in the juvenile court, our work with the families. I think our work as counsel for the jailers. I just can't think of something that probably has as much impact. So whatever we can do, even if it ends up being small, it will make a big difference. So I'm very honored to be here.
Jim Daly, I'm here in my role as the president of the Kentucky Jailers Association. Background, I'm in my 46th year in the criminal justice system. I was a state trooper for about 17 years, ran the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force for 3 or 4 years, and went to jail after that. So I tell everybody, I said, first I was a cop, then I did drugs, and now I'm in jail. I have degrees, undergrad degrees in criminal justice and public administration, and also have my Juris Doctorate. I was extremely excited when Judge Lambert called me and asked me to be involved with this. I would tell you, I believe I am still the only jailer that has a full-time PhD on staff. I have seen mental health in jails as a crisis my entire career. It really has come to light in the last 13 years since I took over the jail full-time again. And every day in jails, mental health is a crisis. And unfortunately, people are dying in jails as a result of mental health and substance abuse. And there's really not a lot we can do about it except to attack it on the front end and hopefully keep them from being in our jails. It's that serious. So I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to working with Justice Lambert.
Good afternoon. My name is Van Ingram. I'm Director of the Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy. Been with the office 18 years and was with the Mayfield Kentucky Police Department for 24 years before that. You know, at the end of the day, 6 people are going to die in Kentucky of a substance use disorder overdose. It's so important we get this right. I'm so honored and humbled to be part of this group. The work will never be more important. Our streets are flooded with a deadly drug called fentanyl that's in everything. It's made to look like things it's not. This is really a critical time. 107,000 Americans died of drug overdose last year. And you look at the 2,250 that died in Kentucky, the overwhelming majority have intersected with the criminal justice system at one time or another. So when we miss opportunities to impact people's lives like that, the result can be deadly. So we've come a long ways from when I was arresting people in the 80s and 90s. I think we have come a long ways. But as Justice Lambert said at the beginning, we can always do better. And I think with this commission, we're going to do better. We're going to figure out the ways to do this job better, do this work better.
Brian Wright,
I'm the Commonwealth's attorney in the 29th Circuit, Casey and Adair counties. Just finished serving as president of the Commonwealth's Attorneys Association. So I'm here on behalf of the Commonwealth's attorneys, and I definitely appreciate Justice Lambert contacting me and asking me to be on this, and I'm excited about it. Couple of things. One, we're a rural part of the state too, much like the lady I think in Trimble County mentioned. We seem to have a lot of resources for substance abuse problems, substance abuse disorder. Doesn't always seem to work. And so I'm hoping that this commission will help look at ways that system can be improved. Things that are working can be enhanced, and things that are not working can be changed. But I'm more interested in the commission's work on mental health problems of criminal defendants that do not involve substance abuse disorders. That's where, at least in my role as Commonwealth's attorney, I see a lot of times the resources are not there. The answers are not there. And that's where, with a criminal defendant that may have dangerous tendencies, but they don't have substance abuse problems, we don't have a lot of options. And that's the ones that just incarcerating them is not the answer. And I know that, and I appreciate that. And I'll hope this commission will look at ways to serve those people that are not necessarily suffering from a substance abuse disorder, but have mental health problems. And whether they're competent or whether they're not competent to stand trial, if they have mental health issues, those need to be addressed. And we need to find ways that everybody within the judicial system and the court system knows how to address those, and not just sit and wait for months or weeks or years while they're incarcerated or while they're out causing harm, but to provide treatment, provide resources to those people too. So that's what I'm interested in, as well as improving the treatment for substance abuse problems that everybody has. Every community has, I should say, every community.
My name is Amy Luttrell, and I'm the CEO for Goodwill of Kentucky. You probably know us for our stores, but our real goal is to help people leave poverty behind and join the middle class and beyond. And our primary population these days is people who are in recovery and people who are or have experienced our criminal justice system. Many people also come to us off the streets. It's kind of funny, when we opened our doors wide and invited more people in, that's who came. And they came in droves, and we spend a lot of money trying to assist them, but there are many, I know there are so many thousands more people who we don't have resources to assist and are very motivated to work and make a good life and be contributors to the community. We partner with a lot of judges. We partner with the Department of Corrections. All 4 legal aid organizations in Kentucky are our partners, and with many of the treatment agencies. And they send people to us, and we try to fill gaps that aren't met in other ways. We have special services for youth as well as adults. We do a lot of expungement. I think last year, the last number that I heard of people who completed that process through our expungement clinics was over 900. My team and I are very happy to be able to do anything we can to contribute to additional changes in our system that will smooth the path for these people who we need to be part of our workforce and our communities, and who want so badly to do that. And I also chair the Workforce Participation Committee of the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board that Stephanie referenced, and we're interested in many of the same issues that we're talking about today. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey Meadows, and I serve as the Deputy Executive Vice President and Director of Advocacy for the Kentucky Medical Association. And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm serving today as the designee for our Executive Vice President, Patrick Paget, who sends his regrets. But in listening, it's certainly an honor and a privilege to be serving on this commission. I want to, on behalf of the Kentucky Medical Association, thank Justice Lambert, Chief Justice Minton for the invitation. It's hard, after you hear all the introductions, not to feel a slight bit inadequate because you're serving along some well-respected organizations and some esteemed subject matter experts. But the KMA certainly hopes to bring its voice to the table as well. We represent physicians statewide, all specialties. We are professional trade association for physicians, and currently we represent about 6,000 physicians serving across the state. That includes psychiatrists, primary care providers, addiction medicine physicians, the people who are on the front lines attempting to provide these much needed services to individuals. But as we all know, it's about access or the lack thereof. And so we want to do our part in raising that issue amongst this commission and work alongside of you to accomplish that goal. And hearing Brian talk it, I looked around the room as he was talking, and he's absolutely right. If you look at the groups that are represented here and the people who've been working oftentimes many decades, there is a wealth of knowledge, resources, etc. in this room, and a lot of good is being done. What we hope can come out of this is that collectively we pull all of that together with a cohesive strategy to deal with this vexing problem. And again, it's an honor and a privilege, happy to serve alongside of you and get to know you better.
Good afternoon, I'm Jenny Oldham. I'm the Hardin County Attorney, and I'm also in 8 days the President of the County Attorneys Association, taking over from Stacey Tapke. I'm starting my 25th year in the County Attorney's Office. Looking back, we have the criminal justice system in my role as a prosecutor has changed from a penal system to very much a treatment system. But in those 25 years, we haven't kept pace with the tools that we need. In the other realm as county attorney and advising the jail, also until 2 years ago, we had a county-owned hospital. Seeing the problem from those perspectives as well, we need more tools. We can't continue to do things the way we did in 1997. This problem is acute. It is the real pandemic, and it is feeding our jail population on a daily basis. So I'm excited to explore new tools and new solutions.
Hi, my name is Katie Hopkins. I'm the medical director for pediatric integrated behavioral health for Norton Healthcare in Louisville. And I'm serving as the delegate today for my colleague, Dr. John Warner, who's the executive medical director of behavioral medicine for Norton Medical Group. And both of us in our roles at Norton are very committed to removing barriers to access to care for our patients and for folks across the Commonwealth when it comes to accessing behavioral health services and addiction medicine services. As a child psychologist, I've been committed to this work even before I came to Norton Healthcare. I was a professor at the University of Louisville in the College of Education and Human Development, really committed to addressing the school to prison pipeline. So a lot of the work that I did was bringing in behavioral health services into our public school system in Jefferson County, making sure that we could disrupt that pipeline so that we could give access to care for folks. I mean, as a child psychologist, the work that I do is really prevention. It is preventing access or preventing folks from having to go into the justice system or interact with the justice system. But as Terry talked about in his experience working with Kentucky Youth Advocates, helping families that are justice involved is a big part of the work that we do, of course. I see over 600 families a year. Many of them do have family members that are justice involved, and a lot of the work that I'm doing is interrupting that trauma. So we do a lot of work with trauma-informed care, and not only in our work at Norton Healthcare, but across the Commonwealth. So I'm happy to be here.
Hello, I'm Linda Harrison. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Access to Justice Commission. At the Commission, we have traditionally focused on making sure that people have access to the civil justice system when they cannot afford an attorney or they choose to go it alone in that system. One of the projects that we have been lucky to be able to participate in, though, is slightly afield from that, and that is we have a project where we go into residential drug treatment facilities and screen people for their civil legal needs and try to resolve those needs while people are in care, so that one, people remain in care, and that two, when they leave residential care, those issues don't come bludgeoning down on them again. I would see that same model and the same needs in the population that this commission is going to be serving. The intersection between criminal involvement and civil involvement in the justice system often involves issues of most basic needs, certainly freedom in the justice system, but other basic needs that have to be addressed within the civil justice system in order to allow people to be successful in recovery. So what we want to make sure at the commission is that our civil justice system is as responsive to the needs of people who are mentally ill, have substance use disorder, intellectual disabilities, so that they can succeed in both systems.
Good afternoon. I'm Nan Henley. I'm the Deputy Director of the Kentucky Access to Justice Commission. And instead of repeating everything that Glenda just said, I work on the same projects at the same office that she does.
I'm Marcus Vanover. I'm one of the family court judges for the 28th Circuit, which serves Pulaski, Lincoln, and Rockcastle counties. Prior to becoming a family court judge, I also worked in the county attorney's office and handled most of the civil matters that involve mental health with guardianships and voluntary hospitalizations through that office for 8 years. Currently, I'm an adult criminal drug court judge, but getting ready to transition out of that into our first family treatment court for Lincoln County. Also serve in Pulaski County, where we're going to be one of the Senate Bill 90 pilot projects. As far as goals for what the work on the committee, like some of the others have said, I'm hoping to work on expanding access to treatment in our rural counties. For instance, Rockcastle just doesn't have as many resources as a lot of our larger counties. Our participants and court-involved people have to travel outside of the area to receive those treatments, and often transportation limitations prevent that. So hopefully we can expand and overcome some of those hurdles for folks like that. And thank you for including me on the committee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Slusher. I'm the facility director at KCPC, Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I worked historically in school-based services in Jefferson County, and then the Louisville Metro Department of Corrections, and then Central State Hospital, which led me to the department, and now KCPC. So KCPC is a licensed psychiatric hospital. It's a sister facility to Eastern State, Western State, Central State. We provide competency to stand trial evaluations, treatment and restoration for people who are charged with felony offenses, as well as civil commitments for people who are incompetent but have been charged with particular violent felony offenses, and we keep them more long-term. That's our newest law, as most of you are aware. This commission falls in line, I think, with a lot of what we're trying to do at KCPC. We're really trying to expand our thinking and see ourselves as a part of a larger system of care. I've been in this position for a year, just about, and bringing a lot of that philosophy to align with best practices nationally and what can make a difference for people who are actually in our doors. So thinking about how we can use our limited resources to really serve the people that forensic care is designed to treat once they're in an inpatient setting, and really think about what forensic care looks like in an outpatient setting. It's really kind of where we're aligning our work. And then once people are in our care, we're really implementing a lot more best practices, trauma-informed care principles, so that when people leave our facility, those outcomes at discharge really follow them into the community. So building partnerships and collaborations with systems that many of you are a part of, that's really what we're trying to do in the future as we set goals for improving our system at KCPC. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Damon Preston. I'm the public advocate for Kentucky, which means I am the leader of the statewide public defender system. Whether you're in circuit court or district court or juvenile court or family court or a 202A hearing or a Casey's Law hearing or a Tim's Law hearing, the one thing that's in common in all of those is there's a public defender standing there next to most of the individuals that we're talking about that wind up in the court system with a behavioral or mental health problem. Public defenders in this space live a complicated life because we want what's best for the individual standing next to us. We want their mental health needs to be addressed. We want their behavioral health needs to be addressed. We want them to be safe and to live a fruitful life in the future. But today we have an ethical duty to protect their legal interests and to be the one person in the courtroom or in the arena that is standing beside them no matter what and arguing for them under any circumstances. And so that can be complicated. And so I've been doing this, been a public defender for 28 years and been doing this for about 10 years as far as at the policy level. And when it works best is when those individual rights, when the autonomy and the dignity of the person are fully respected, but in an area that recognizes that they need assistance. And so I'm glad that DPA is involved in this conversation. I think we can bring something, a different kind of perspective to this. Our goal is not to be obstacles to progress in any way, but understand that our primary goal, both in this room and in the courtroom, is to stand beside the person against whom the law is going to be used. And so I appreciate being a part of this. One of the resources that we have, because we are dedicated to helping our clients, about 12 years ago, we started a program called the Alternative Sentencing Worker Program. Sarah Johnson's here was one of our founding mothers in that project. And that program allows our attorneys to work with clients within the attorney-client relationship to try to direct them towards resources that would be helpful. And the name alternative sentencing comes from our goal is to provide alternatives to incarceration for individuals, recognizing that for most of our clients, a clear majority of our clients, jail or prison is not necessarily the best answer if we can come up with an alternative that keeps the public safe and addresses the needs of the particular person. We try not to do one size fits all, but to get to know our client and to come up with an alternative. And so that program, I hope, can be one of the ways that whatever this commission comes up with, whatever resources are available in the future, our ASWs, our alternative sentencing workers, will be trying to work with our clients to lead them in that direction while at the same time protecting them within the corporate. So I look forward to the work of this commission and I appreciate being here.
Good afternoon. I'm Colonel Philip Burnett Jr., Commissioner of Kentucky State Police. I've been with Kentucky State Police for 27 years plus. And I'd like to thank the commission for inviting me to be here as a law enforcement representative. And I think it's very important that we're here. One of the themes that I've heard kind of around the room is rural areas. And that's one of the big things that Kentucky State Police is dealing with rural areas. Is that some of the I guess some of the things that we could use for that are limited in those areas, and seem like law enforcement typically could be the first time someone comes in contact that we may be having to deal with someone with a mental issue. So by us being here, being a law enforcement representative, I think I can offer feedback, and also I think that I can take feedback from the commission with the work that's going to be done to help tailor our law enforcement training going forward. And thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Rebecca Penderbaum, coming to you from Murray, Kentucky. My regrets for not being able to be there in person. I'm coming on behalf of the Kentucky Counseling Association. I'm currently serving as the Advocacy Committee Chair, and I'm also a past president of the organization. We're the biggest organization in Kentucky for professional counselors, but we have a huge role in advocating for the clients that we work with as well. I also have a small private practice here in Western Kentucky, and I'm a counselor educator at a university over this way. A lot of my clinical work has been in trauma-informed care, working with survivors and offenders of domestic violence and sexual assault. And like everyone else here, I can see a huge need for this commission, and I am completely honored to be able to be part of it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Yvette Hurrigan. I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C. today. I'm the director of the Kentucky Lawyer Assistance Program. This is the assistance program that offers mental health and substance use disorder assistance for Kentucky's 23,000 lawyers. We also serve all Kentucky judges and law students. In addition to being a lawyer, I am also a certified employee assistance professional. And based on my lived experience, I'm an adult peer support specialist. I'm a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder and depression. I also write state and federal grants for nonprofit mental health and substance use disorder centers and jail substance abuse programs, creating programs using evidence-based practices focused on recovery-oriented systems of care and wraparound services that set the clients involved in justice up for success, thereby reducing recidivism. I am excited and honored to be a part of this group. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Coron. I'm the Commonwealth Attorney in Warren County, Kentucky. Thanks to Justice Lambert and Chief Justice Minton for allowing me to serve on this. At the end of the year, I will be leaving the Commonwealth Attorney's Office to be sworn in as the next circuit judge for Warren County. So during our procedure, my role will change. As Commonwealth Attorney, I've served over 15 years on the Prosecutors Advisory Council, as well as being the legislative director for the Kentucky Commonwealth Attorneys Association. I've also served on the board of directors for Appalachia and been the legal consultant for the Kentucky Narcotics Officers Association. I'm glad to be part of this group. I've been on record many times testifying before the legislature in Frankfurt that the criminal justice system is a poor substitute for legitimate mental health treatment and applications. I'm very interested in going through this process and most concerned with the gap I think still have within our system for those individuals that are incompetent to stand trial but not qualifying for involuntary commitment, but still pose a significant threat to public safety. The 202C legislation that was passed recently, while well-meaning, has not been very effective and needs significant changes to make it more usable and more appropriate for the criminal justice system. So along with that, and always looking for a better mousetrap in regards to substance abuse treatment and assistance there. And so looking forward to working with everyone.
Good afternoon. I'm Rebecca Phillips. I'm the circuit judge for the 37th Judicial Circuit, Carter, Elliott, and Morgan counties. And for the past 16 years, I've served in that capacity, also served as a drug court judge during that period of time. I'm very thankful to be asked to be a part of the commission. I'm certainly interested in continuing to learn and to help with the involvement of the court system and looking at better ways to address our substance abuse issues. But I'm particularly interested in addressing some of the things that the other commission members have talked about here today concerning the impact of mental health on the court system and the needs in our communities to better address mental health. I think the issues of competency certainly are at the forefront of not only, of course, my courts, but I'm sure in my fellow judges' courts. And so certainly that's an issue that's particularly interesting to me to see what we can do as a part of our work on the commission to address the competency issues and the process. It has become quite an overwhelming issue in terms of the dockets because of delays caused by those evaluations. And then, of course, as other members have indicated, what do we do once we get those results back, whether the individual is found to be competent but still struggling from mental health issues that need to be addressed, or in the circumstances where they're not found to be competent, how do we deal with those issues and protect the communities? So appreciate the opportunity.
Good afternoon. My name is Phyllis Millspaw. I am the Assistant Director for the Division of Mental Health in the Department for Behavioral Health, Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. I am standing in today for Commissioner Wendy Morris, who sends her regrets that she's not able to attend today, but wanted to make sure that we had a seat at the table and expressed our keen interest in this work. The department, as the state mental health authority and a single state authority for substance use services, our department has a keen and vested interest in the work before this commission. The department is looking forward to supporting and advancing the information and changes that the commission will produce. Based upon the introductions and passion expressed so far by the partners around the table, the potential for system change and improvement has never been higher for individuals who intersect with the criminal justice and behavioral health system. So we're looking forward to being an active partner in this work, and we're glad to be here. Thank you.
Me now. Okay. My first mental health issue is I can never get my audio to work. My second thing is I suspect that I am on this committee because of my inability to say no. So even with that, however, I will say this is something, I don't have any answers for these issues, but I certainly have seen the problems. I've seen them in my own family. I've seen them as a district court judge, family court judge, circuit judge. I've seen them for a 20-year docket on truancy diversion, and also the work of the Racial Fairness Commission in Jefferson County, where we've looked at disparities. So I'm honored to be on the committee, although as I told Justice Lambert, I just want to remind her that I am rotating off the court, but she didn't seem to care about that. But I also will not be, my term will end in January. But in any event, thank you for the opportunity to participate.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be here and be on this commission. I'm Tanisha Hickerson. I'm a judge in Jefferson County, the 30th District. I will not reiterate what many of my fellow judges, as well as others on the staff, have stated about how mental health is an issue that obviously not just plagues the court system, but our community. So I'm passionate about, things that matter inside and outside the courtroom doors. And so I'm really happy to be on this commission. I also serve currently as a chair of the Criminal Justice Commission. So that's about, improving the administration of justice and promoting public safety policies. So of course, anything involving mental health will also fall in and help me with that role. I also serve on the network opportunity, the Opportunity Network, which is geared at rehabilitation after reincarceration, as we try to successfully reenter those into our society. And we know that a lot of times mental health issues, substance abuse issues, things like that are impediments that we all should work to help others overcome for the betterment of our society. Of course, in Jefferson County, I know it was mentioned that we have, both a mental health court here, and Judge Burke talked about a drug court. So to the extent that I am nothing but a tool and a vessel, I hope to continue to just work in those capacities, learn from others on this commission. And again, thank you for this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Julie Rocky Adams, and I am the state senator for District 36, which is Eastern Jefferson County, and I also serve in Senate leadership. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Leapson. I'm a district judge in Jefferson County. And when I got the email from Chief Minton about the formation of this commission, I sent Justice Lambert an email thanking her for being willing to take on this monumental task. And the email I received in return was, "Thank you for being willing to serve on the commission." So that being said, I am happy to be here. Before being elected, I spent 6 years as the head of the Jefferson County Attorney's Office, head of the mental inquest and guardianship case, and that office processes about 2,400 mental inquests a year. And then since being elected, I have served as with Judge Burke for 3 years as in our civil mental health court.
And also, we do, like Judge Tackett mentioned, have a criminal mental health docket, a specialty court, where the end goal is diversion if the people follow through on the qualifications and their requirements. And so I was also the presiding judge over that docket. And I think everyone around the room has said we did the best we could with what we had for that individual. And I'm looking forward to the day we can all say we did the best, we did the best for that individual. So hopefully with all the brain power in this room, we can get that done. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carrie Wiggins. I'm the Commonwealth's attorney for the 56th Circuit, which is Lyon, Livingston, Trigg, and Caldwell counties. And I'm currently the president of the Commonwealth Attorneys Association. Like everyone else, I'm proud to be a member of this commission. So many times on a daily basis, we deal with mental health issues in the court system, and we are often asking ourselves, what is the solution here? So I'm hopeful that the members of this commission can come up with some better solutions for all of us. Thank you.
Chairman Westerfield, if you're able to go. I know Mr. Cunningham still needs to introduce himself, and I can't quite see Ashley. Are you running the mics, or how are we?
Yeah, Terry is up.
Okay, I had some folks ask me about the order, so.
It should be Sean. Sean Butler.
My apologies. I thought there was someone in front of me. My name is Sean Butler. I'm the executive director for the Kentucky Police Chiefs Association. I've been involved in law enforcement for over 37 years, 15 years as a police chief, the last several years as the executive director for the police chiefs. I hope to bring a perspective of law enforcement to this discussion, especially we many times are the first people that are going to respond to a mental health situation. And unfortunately, I think we've seen we're not necessarily the best trained to be there first, or we may not be able to necessarily bring the crisis to an end in the fashion it needs to be. And I think there's some disconnect, and I certainly hope that we can direct that because we deal a lot with the mental health and the drug epidemic. Thank you.
I'm Kerry Harvey. I'm the Secretary of the Justice Cabinet, and as everyone knows, I think our agencies are often the first contact and the last stop for people with mental illness who've come in contact with the criminal justice system. You've got a lot of great people who work in our cabinet that are on this call. They're all smarter than I am, and I know they'll be able to help identify some of the many problems and also identify solutions. And we do see gaps really in all phases of the process. We see gaps in the resources, we see gaps in the law. Unfortunately, we see some particular gaps in how we're able to assist our children who suffer from mental illness and come in contact with the juvenile justice system. So there's a lot of work to do, and we're very happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Whitney Westerfield, State Senator for the 3rd Senate District, representing all of Christian, Caldwell, and Muhlenberg counties. Chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I just want to say thanks. I thank the Chief Justice, and I thank Justice Lambert for allowing me to be a part of this big group. It is a big group, but I look forward to the work ahead. Thank you all.
Aye.
Go ahead, Mr. Cunningham.
Hi, I'm Raul Cunningham, president of the Louisville branch NAACP. I can't say why I was asked to serve on this. I do consider it an honor and hope that I will be able to add something to the work, or this important work that we've got to do in Kentucky. Thank you.
Is that the last person?
Wonderful. Here we go. I always get worried about anytime I pick up any type of electronics. So that was a great response and information to hear from everybody. It's a powerful commission and there's a lot of work that you all will definitely be doing. And as Laurie had mentioned, the AOC is a staff support to you. We want to be able to give you a little bit of a reflection on how we got to where we are and the fact that there was a little bit of method to all this. And so I'm just going to very quickly run through a little bit of history and then turn it over to Director Dudgeon. Director, get that right. I know, I should know better. So we started this work back in 2019. Actually, the chief and Laurie really talked with us about ways that we can engage and provide more training and expertise around substance use disorder, really be able to engage our judiciary. And what we ended up being able to do that was a wonderful opportunity was we actually connected with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services and worked specifically with behavioral health and talked about their core initiative. So they were all, many of you are familiar and already doing work in this space and have been for a few years. That particular effort took us through a partnership, development of a partnership that we call Restore. And in the world of Restore for us, it's about being able to provide expertise, content to our judiciary, supports, resources, action planning, all those types of pieces. We started that work in 2019, actually trained over 1,800 of our judicial judges and clerks and our AOC staff. It was really a wonderful, worthwhile initiative. And out of it, it developed a lot of other things. You know what happens as soon as you open up Pandora's box, something else leads into something else, leads into something else. So what came out of this for us was the fact that we had a lot of leadership that wanted to participate in doing more around this work. And so what we did was we established what we call our Restore leadership team. Many of the judges in this space are a part of that team. And simultaneously, we heard about the State Justice Institute grant that was looking at ways that states could work more collaboratively in addressing system issues and ways that we could do some work around this space a little bit more in depth. We ended up getting a grant through SJI where we contracted with Crime and Justice Institute. And what they did for us was they really assessed the Court of Justice overall as to whether or not we were ready to look at becoming a recovery-oriented system of care. Now, for many of us here today, we understand the idea of system of care, and we understand the concept that it takes, whether it's a community or whether it's at a regional or whether it's at a state level, it takes all of us to make things work and make things happen effectively. And the CJI report really supported how the court system already had so many of those pieces in place. But we needed to be a little bit more, really, to be honest, a little bit bolder in being able to do that. And so out of that work, of course, you know, again, one piece of work leads to another, which leads to another. We ended up establishing through our Restore leadership team, this working group that was intentionally focusing more around the system of care efforts and what that would look like when it comes to identifying key areas. Basically, the idea that any door you come into in the court system, you're able to get supports, resources, access, you're able to have a bridge, and that we're able to really provide support to all of our citizens. That can be through our collaborative outreach with each other. That could be internally within the Court of Justice, whatever we need to do in order to build those types of opportunities. And we really worked with some of our, actually in this room, our champion judges to help to mobilize a lot of those efforts and identify some of those key pieces. That particular group really created kind of a big picture vision around a recovery-oriented system of care. Sort of took down the intimidation of it, really was able to create some terms and some concepts and some ideas. that we didn't necessarily have in place, and really gave a space for leadership in the court system to kind of just peel the onion apart and really find out what we wanted to do and how that would look from a system of care approach. So then our final piece was in June 2022. And what we did was we talked with Crime and Justice Institute again to take us through the final leg of this and say to us, how could we then implement everything that we had discussed big picture? You have both of these documents in your binder as a reference. We will quiz you. No, I'm just kidding. And that really was what has mobilized this movement today. And what we did was, through that leadership group of the judges that are in this space and the leadership that we have from our justices and from our director, we were able to really start to map out what we consider to be, as a court of justice, the definitions of system. I'm not going to read all these. Obviously, you all are way more competent than I am in this space. We did take time to really dive into establishing a vision and how that vision could attack what we know are barriers within our systems. And this is where we start to move into this space that we sit today, and really making sure that we take a very holistic, equitable, empowering pathways type approach. That's why the leadership that's in this room is here. And then we really wanted to make sure that we hit on those priority areas of very intentionally being individualized. The justice has already used the language earlier around strength-based, being flexible, and being supportive. All those key pieces. And boy, has the system shifted that now we use that language very, very intentionally and very proactively as a system. So this is what we have defined as basically those recovery-oriented system of care goals. You want to have that sustainable system of care. You want to be able to have the community partners in the court that buy in. Obviously, you wouldn't be here or you wouldn't be on Zoom if you didn't buy into this process. And out of that, we want to improve outcomes and make sure that we address the needs, not of just of substance use disorder, but also of mental health issues and developmental disabilities. And so this is how we were left with this space from this evolution and this process. And they gave us, through the recovery-oriented system of care products, they basically gave us a framework for you all to work within. And that looks at these key areas as very broad concepts. And you all know these, every work group or involvement we typically have to look at these components of policy and partnership, changes, array of services and supports, what's out there, what's available. Do we have the financial access resources? Can we do that in a way that makes sense for our system? We love that we have Medicaid here. We love that we have those other partners involved. How do we look at it from a workforce development? So leadership is one thing. How do we then take that down to the workforce? Make sure that everyone is in support of that recovery-oriented system of care approach. And then how do we do that in a way that we continue moving forward and communicating together? That's the best part of this work, is that ability for us to have this type of platform to communicate with. So our director, Gibbons, is going to now take us on a little bit of a journey and conversation around committee overviews.
Thank you very much. I do want to speak about this briefly. I think we've got 15 minutes allotted for this part of the conversation. I plan to speak for about, hopefully, no more than 5, and would like to open it up really for a conversation about what our committee structure looks like as a commission, because I think we can look around the room and realize we are a large, diverse group with a lot of different areas of expertise. And we are anticipating, and Justice Lambert is anticipating chairing a commission meeting every quarter. But we think that so much of our work is going to get done in our smaller committees that will report up to the commission on a quarterly basis, but the committees will meet more frequently. Our AOC folks will staff these committees. As we started looking at what our structure should look like, we realized we had a lot of options, and that we, perhaps our small group that we're working on getting organized for this meeting, probably should not make those choices for you, but wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you thought our committee structure should be. Excuse me. If you look behind your tab in your binder that's titled Resources, you're going to just see a few different titles of committees. take an opportunity to kind of look through that as I talk for a minute. There are different models, but first I think each of our committees, whether we have 3 larger committees as a model with areas of interest and focus under each committee that we will identify and lay out clearly, excuse me, through a committee charter. But we want our multidisciplinary stakeholders on every committee. We want to meet regularly, I think at least monthly, and we'll do those mostly remotely when it's convenient for you. We want our committees to have a chair and vice chair, and then we're going to staff this. We, the folks at AOC, are going to staff this, help provide the materials, document the minutes, do a lot of, I think, the logistical legwork to help support the work that you do. And then each of you, your chair or vice chair, will report back to the commission on what you're working on. And I'm not sure who's running the clicker, but we could maybe go, oh, I'm running. Chief's running. Thanks, Chief. Thank you. So here's, I want to talk a little bit about our committee approach. The committees are developed to identify systemic problems. And this can be done by bringing in experts to advise on issues of interest, distributing surveys, conducting site visits, really looking too at some of the other models that some of the other states and communities have developed across the country. We are not going to reinvent the wheel here. A lot of good work has happened over the course of the last 20 years. A lot of good pilots have been developed. We want to bring this work to you and show you this. I think one of the most important things we want to introduce everybody to, I don't know who's familiar with the Intercept model, but Representative Moser and I were talking about, we really think that will be a good presentation at the next meeting to talk a little bit about the Intercept model. We've got the experts are out there. We're going to bring them in to speak to you. And I know Justice Lambert's going to talk to you a little bit about our summit in the spring, perhaps a little bit later. But we really want to identify our key unmet needs, and we want to make those recommendations to this commission. I think each of you, regardless of what committee you're on, there won't just be one committee that works on legislative recommendations. I think each committee is going to come up with legislative recommendations. I think each committee is going to come up with a list of where we have gaps, where we need funding. I think each committee is going to come up with areas where we need education and training. So whatever the structure is, whatever the titles of these committees are, we're going to speak about that just a little bit later. That really is going to be up to you. We've got our short-term outcomes. Oh, I don't know, I should be able to do that part, but I can't really. So I appreciate a beep. Okay, he wants me to say beep, and he's gonna click. I'm also reversed here. Yeah, I've been a beeper for years. We really do hope to be more efficient with the use of our current resources while expanding our capacity for existing programs. It'll be important for us to begin to promote early identification, monitoring, diversion, and I think training for all of the justice involved individuals across all systems. But I think also the resources and the teams that we develop in each of our communities across the state are going to be critical. I think that's an important piece of this. I think housing for these folks is a very important piece of this. I think vocational education and training and job opportunities are an important piece of this. But I think that frequent contact that this population needs is going to be important, and each of our communities look a little different. Our resources are going to be different every place. And we're going to have to really, I think, something that we're going to work on both short-term and long-term. I think you may realize some of the, I hate to say low-hanging fruit, but some of the low-hanging fruit in each of your work groups. But we anticipate in the front of your binder is really our kind of what we were imagining our monthly schedule to be at least out through the midsummer of 2023. We anticipate, of course, that the commission will live well beyond that, but we want to be pretty aggressive if we can. We would like to move as quickly as we can, and I think that is why the subcommittees and the committees are so important. We looked at a couple of different models, and the first, if you're looking at, just kind of want to give everybody a little bit of time also to look at the potential committee opportunities. You'll see the first 3 committees in your material. There's one, and these are all, by the way, just ideas. And I don't think these first 3 names really capture what we want to do, but it's an example. So when the National Center for State Courts first started its work and it's mental health task force a few years ago, and Justice Lambert referenced them already. They had 3 large committees, and all the subcommittees sort of reported into that. So their 3 committees were the Criminal Justice Committee, the Civil Probate and Family Justice Committee, and then an Education and Partnerships Committee. And, you know we have community capacity building that we need to do in each of these committees. We need to do a lot of training on best practices. I think we're going to have to engage law enforcement very early, just as the commissioner stated earlier when he was introducing himself. They are the first points of contact when an individual usually becomes involved with the criminal justice system. And that's why we want to do the Intercept model training for you. You're going to help us identify programs, anything that we want to bring in to train the commission on, but also anything we should introduce, I think, the legislature to. And we're so blessed to have 4 members of our General Assembly participating. And I think they'll all be active participants on this commission as well. They're hopefully going to help offer, I think, where there is space to make change, what may be a bridge too far, what we need to look at. But I think the development out of the community resources is going to be critical. We've got a list, and I'm not even comprehensive, really. We're really in the weeds. So where we say court order treatment response committee, what I want you to think about is all of the different ideas on courts and dockets that you heard our judges talking about today, and none of those are the same. Assisted outpatient treatment is not the same as family recovery court, is not the same as a juvenile treatment court or mental health court. But I think the resources that we've got to provide to juveniles early and the opportunities for diversion for this whole population is critical. So we've got to figure out where these things are going to live. And in order to just make us a little bit more efficient today, hopefully we've inserted just a little handout in each of your binders that we're going to collect this at the end today. Just wanted to get a little information from you, and then your thoughts on committee preferences. I'm not sure that we have it completely captured here, but I would love to just kind of open this up for conversation. What you think is critical? Is there a name to you that is really stands out more than another? Do you think we're better served to do 3 or 4 large committees, or should we do something like the Texas model? Texas has 7 or 8 different committees, and that's large. We've got enough people, I think, that we could support 7 or 8, but I'm afraid that we may miss things if we break up in too small a group, if that makes sense. I noticed there may only be one person, Lisa, from Medicaid here. You may need to bring a team, right? You may find that you need multiple folks in each committee, and I want to say that's fine. You may all know someone who needs to come to some of these committees with you and support that. We had a lot of folks reach out from our nonprofits who wanted to be at the table. We very much want them to be at the table, but think that it may be appropriate for them to attend some committee meetings, do some presentations for you there, and to participate that way also. And I think I saw, Sean, I saw you stand up. I want to take a minute, and I hate to just kind of call on folks, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. I know, Justice, when we started looking at the list, you said, these all look great. We need to do all of these. And I think we're trying to figure out maybe how to combine and consolidate them in some way. Okay. I'm not sure who else has, if we want to kind of run mics, or if anybody wants to speak. Okay. So let's kind of, open it up. Judge Jones, I'm so sorry because I'm making eye contact with you, but I want to babble for a minute and give you a minute to think. I know that you've served on a lot of different committees, both at the state level. You've done a lot of national work. You've done a lot of work for us at AOC. What do you think in terms of a structure may look best? How do you see this breaking up, or either anybody who wants to go? I'm just kind of kicking it to somebody who would like to open up.
I think, and again, the people who work with the Juvenile Justice Task Force and Senator Westerfield too can chime in. But one, I think you almost need the data first. That was the big thing, having the data kind of broke down what we were looking at and what we needed to look at when we started with the juvenile justice work. That let us know a lot of where the problems are going, a lot of where the money's going, a lot of areas that might be underfunded. It kind of showed us where the gaps in the systems are and where a lot of the disparities in the systems were. So the data, I think, is a huge, huge piece that needs to be probably the steering force behind a lot of the other committees that get created. And then we can't overlook, again, the disparities in the racial justice work, because I think at times especially the very initial stages of the juvenile justice work. I think we forgot about that, and we ended up having to look at it on the back end. And then the legislation had already passed, and it was too late to kind of come back and correct some of those things.
And we are each going to have a multitude of data that's going to be a little different. I mean, we know what we have here in the court system, but I'm just looking around this room at the data that everybody else has that's going to be very relevant. And I think each committee is going to need to sort of receive and analyze that data also. I think evaluating really the data points on what we think is important and to look at is going to be how we measure our success also. I know Commissioner Straub, you had your hand up.
Thank you. I want to believe that a vision has to have plans to hallucinations. Therefore, I really believe that forming a strategic plan that has actual goals, action items, people who are champions and a timeline would be the best way to organize a small work group and then a time frame for that. So I'm putting in the suggestions. Comprehensive, smart, strategic plan that will then allow us to be so roadmap to how to make it forward.
Well, and we mentioned earlier, or I did, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. So the Texas Commission on Judicial Mental Health has an excellent strategic plan that we actually kind of have in our pocket and that we've looked at. I think it's a great starting point and another resource I think we wanted to share with everybody. We're so worried about burdening everyone in the first meeting, you know, with really too much information, but we certainly agree that I think the commission needs a strategic plan and the committees each need a very specific sort of mission and vision statement on what needs to be accomplished.
For Texas being our roadmap, what were the communities
used? Texas has. So their committee structure, they have Summit Curriculum Committee. And I don't know, Justice, do you want to speak a little bit about the Summit right now so they know?
Our dates in March.
Yes, let me give you our dates in March. We're going to have a large and celebratory time and educational, no doubt, a summit in Louisville at the Galt House, March 22nd and through the 24th. So we need a committee to plan that summit and the educational opportunities that will be available there for cross-training and sharing of information and ideas. So that will be March 22nd through the 24th at the Galt House in Louisville. And also to kind of spur some of you thinking about committees, the way I break it down in my ADD brain is, you know, I look at the adult population, the juvenile population, and the criminal cases and the civil cases. And that's maybe just also from the way judges tend to handle their dockets. But I keep going back to what Brian said about what he sees as an unmet need, and that is those persons with mental health issues who don't have a co-occurring substance abuse issue, which is what one of my family members had suffered with for a long, long time. And so, you know, that for some reason that had not occurred to me to think about until when you said that today. I think both the chief and I had a reaction to that. I think that is an unmet need. We sometimes focus too much on substance abuse issues to the detriment of the non-substance abuse issues, perhaps some would say. So, you know, any way you want to think about the committees and how you want to break them down, whether it's by age and by civil or criminal, anyway, any direction that you want to go, we do not want to corral you all too much. I had written a note to the chief mid-introductions of you all and said, now you see why this commission had to be so large, because, and also why I was so excited to talk to so many of you, because it's been an amazing group to assemble, and there's power in this group. And this group will take on a dynamic of its own, and we don't want to tighten you down in your creative thinking. So please express your thoughts.
Stacy, with sort of that background, the Texas committee, I think, seems to be, I don't want to say more court focused, but I think we're a little broader even than Texas is, to be frank. But the Texas committee are these, and they're in order. They're the Summit Curriculum Committee, the Bench Book Committee, the Juvenile Bench Book Committee, the Data Committee, the Forums Committee, the Legislative Committee, and the Long-Term Planning Committee. To me, that sounded a lot of court-like committees, right? So I think we need those. We want to collapse them, but there's so much more in this room that we need to capture. So we had, I think, some more ideas on other possible committees. And I think Commissioner Straub is right. I think the strategic plan will help guide us, but I think understanding the right number of committees is pretty important. But we have youth justice, we have competency restoration, and each one of these is lined out in the material in your book. We have family preservation. We have domestic and interpersonal violence, service access, then the Mental Health Summit Planning Committee, and really that data committee that Judge Jones was kind of talking about. So these are all going to have to be very interactive. And I think as staff, to each of you, we're going to have to figure out how do we make sure that you guys each have a pretty good handle on what everybody else is doing. But I'm not trying to necessarily look for answers today. I want you to think about this, send us an email, let us know your area and what you might be interested in serving in, because I think we're thinking that we can take hopefully the feedback that we get from you today on our handouts and develop a proposed committee structure that we can present back to you. We're not trying to come up with that answer right now, but we want to make sure that we capture everything and that everything knows where it's going to live. Judge Cutoff, I'm not sure what that look means, but it looks like it has a thought that it wants to express.
Not really.
Okay. Okay.
This is a lot of committees, and it looks like it could have potential to kind of be a little splintered. So I wonder if we might consider having a smaller number of kind of broader topics that some of these are grouped under as subcommittees.
Yes, ma'am. That's what.
So if you all could help us,
I think,
see what those broader categories might be.
And I think we think 3 broader categories or perhaps 4 broad categories, and then everything else lives under. I said a minute ago, I may have been lost. We have the word committee next to these. Some of them are really more topic areas and not committee. They're topics.
I think that could help us be a little more cohesive
okay.
with our process.
So, and for example, Justice Lambert had mentioned, adult and juvenile. In criminal justice, adult and juvenile could live there. We've got a legislative piece that will live there. We'll have, the competency piece that will live there. And civil, probate, family, and the Justice Committee. By the way, we're going to have, I think, recommendations for behavioral health courts and mental health courts and assisted outpatient treatment dockets and a number of other things. You're going to live your family recovery courts. There'll be recommendations. But we've got our guardianship proceedings that need to live somewhere that may live in civil. We have our 202s. They're going to need to live somewhere. We have our, interpersonal violence and family violence issues that may live here. And then we have our education and our partnerships committee. And I kind of think that's our community capacity building, our training and education committee. The Summit Planning Committee should live here. I think it's whether we think that we need to be doing community sort of town hall type meetings and going statewide and traveling. That may live here as well. I think any recommendations perhaps around crisis intervention training for law enforcement commissioner, that may live here also. And so that's kind of, I don't know, Rachel, or just, I'm looking around to see if anybody else wants to speak to this a little more, but I think we agree completely with that vision. 3 or 4 broader committees and the topics live. I think about the interests that are so important to our providers. I think about the KMA and the KHA and, our social workers and our licensed clinical psychologists who are here. Where do you guys think you live? What, I think that's tough because, really that service array And we know how inadequate the resources you have to deal with this population are. And who exactly should you actually be receiving, right? Who should be coming to you? Because the emergency room has become the triage center, I think, for many folks with mental illness. And I don't know, Wes, if you want to speak to this briefly, where, you know, I hate to call you providers because I think you're so much more than that. I'm not.
Thank you. Thank you. The difficult part has been trying to identify exactly which committee we do fall into. As I was going through it, the one that, of course, we gravitated to was quarter treatment, because as I was putting together a work committee with Kentucky Hospital Association, mixed with both acute care providers as well as inpatient psychiatric hospitals. A lot of times the frustration they share with me is that they literally are given a few minutes notice and someone shows up whom they have no background on, they have no understanding of their particular circumstances. They're there to assess, and it's a question of, you know, how do we treat them? So they do the best they can to meet the needs that there are, and then sometimes there's a vacuum and there's silence from the court side of it, understanding that that part of it becomes just a sense of helplessness, in the sense of how do we further treat this patient, how do we stabilize them, and how do we. So as I was looking at this, I truly had some trouble figuring out exactly where we would fit, because there might be many committees. And I actually might take you up on the invitation of bringing in a few others within the hospital association to join on various committees to be able to have their say.
That would be, I think, very helpful, and that's same is true for everyone else in the room there. Also, if you know you're on a committee, but as we mentioned, we don't want this to be splintered. You're exactly right. But at the same time, we want to make sure everybody feels like it knows exactly where your area of expertise belongs. It's a really hard thing to capture just in a name. Yeah.
I would say that for those of us that are representing mental health professional associations, advocacy groups, and ourselves, licensed mental health folks, I think there's some places that we would live that may not be as overtly clear, like the Family Preservation Committee, because of our work on that side of the equation, as well as the Interpersonal Violence Committee, as you know, most of the folks that are working in that capacity out for 20 years are licensed mental health folks, and are represented by the professional advocacy groups. I think that there's a lot of part that those folks would also provide some information for that particular thing.
This one sounds louder. Okay. If we only have the committee preferences I wrote down on this paper, we're gonna have too many committees. I'm terrible at this game of which is the best committee to work on. So I know that they're all gonna come together. But I'm sorry, this was useful to me because I say, well, that's great, and I want to help with that. And that's great, and I want to help with that. So I already see how a few of them would come together. I have to say that I don't think anyone prepared, but when you two gentlemen both spoke one after another about the desperate need regarding drug abuse and overdoses, desperate need regarding mental health, I was personally moved twice in 5 minutes, which is rare for me. There are clearly core issues that we have to address that are going on that I think a few of these fall under. I think that, I just want to use the words that were used. The Personal Centered Justice Committee and the Youth Justice Committee, I think are going to overlap incredibly because I think, there's a connection there, and the Family Preservation Committee overlaps. So I think there's a lot of overlap in the titles we have here. And legislative committee is going to have to overlap with all of these if we want to actually change anything. So yeah, I'm not sure the word committees are right for these, but I think these are a lot of great starting points for how to form them. And although it was an interesting way to go around the room this way, I think there's a lot that was added for those conversations that can guide where we should be heading.
And that was the purpose of kind of trying to do it this way, is because we didn't want to just come in and tell you, okay, here are your committees, sign up for a committee, right? Because we know that you each have a perspective that we don't have, and it needs to be contributed here, so thank you.
One thing I just wanted to add was, I know initially there was the mental health focus, the SUD, and also the intellectual and developmentally, the disabilities, or I prefer to use different abilities. And I think that's something that'll cut across all of this, especially through the mental health lens, but I think in the lens of all the people present. So that's something I'm definitely committed to.
I want to let you know that Senator Adams has texted me to let me know that she would be on the legislative committee. So I wanted to thank
her for that. So, you know, and I think it's important that we understand that every committee is likely going to have recommendations around needed legislation. I think you're all going to have recommendations on needed education and training and where we have service gaps and maybe processes that need to be changed within the courts in terms of rules, right? And so there's a lot that is the court focus, but there is so much that is, let's say, focused on housing, that's focused around case management, that's focused on recruiting more providers to communities where we really don't, you know, where we have a deficit, where the only thing we have is perhaps a small rural hospital. So I think we were just trying to figure out how to spur this conversation and get your feedback, and we just needed you to get us pointed in the right direction so we can give you something back. And again, I consider this sheet not your committee sign-up sheet, but an opportunity to weigh in on where you really think you see a need. We wanted to kind of take this from there. Rachel, is there anything you want to kind of offer? Because I know we need to wrap this conversation up. Is it a consensus of the group that we say we have 3, no more than 4 committees? Okay. All right, agreed. We all agree there. And so what we'll do is attempt to take the comments from here and fold those in those 3 or 4. And then we will recirculate that and give everybody sort of an opportunity. We will share, Rachel, you think perhaps a draft of a strategic plan. And, you know, really, I think a committee or a small group of commission members need to work on the strategic plan.
And we'll put in the listserv also, the Justice has in the resources with the National Center. We'll send you also Texas Commission, a couple of other resources. And we'll have a working listserv group so you will receive any and all information.
I just wanted to quickly chime in as we're looking through these committee opportunities. Something that just strikes me as we're kind of working through how these committees are formed. I think that, you know, the education and partnerships, stigma, training, even legislative might be a part of every committee. I think that, you know, rather than having separate committees, I mean, that just gets rolled into the duties of every committee, how we address education, training, stigma, et cetera, in every category. And then, you know, things like I'm looking at strengthening community response committee. I see that under a continuum. So I think that there are ways to roll this together so that it's not so unwieldy, if that makes sense.
Don't give up on us for feeling a little bit amorphous here and at the end. We did this intentionally, believe it or not. We knew that we would have a lot of great thinkers in this room, and we do want the benefit of your thoughts and ideas. And we actually, AOC does have a great group of staff people who have worked hard to get your binders ready, done a lot of the writing and the notes. And I'd like for them to stand up so you can see them, and they will be helping with these committees. My staff person, Jacinda, you need to stand up or I'll call your name out particularly. There are other folks in the room who've been very helpful, and appreciate you all very much. They will direct you in a way that you need to be directed. My personal passion is suicide prevention, for instance. I'm a certified suicide prevention trainer with certified under the QPR organization. And so I see my work as being sharing my passion with every committee, because isn't that important, unfortunately, at all ages now, even with our youngest of children. So, you know, there are those things very much. I agree with Representative Moser that just overlay everything. But if you have a particular passion that you want to let us know about, we know part of Brian's passion and some of the others that you have mentioned your passions, please let us know that. There's workforce passions, all this information, all these strengths that we each have. We need to share those with each other on this, with the AOC folks on this committee notification that you get back. Can they email that back to someone? Is there a particular email address that they can send?
They'll put all that information.
Okay, so we'll do that. And then also, if you would take a look at the, and I know when I've spoken with several of you on the phone, I directed you to the Texas Commission on Mental Health. You can also, we don't have a, which one is ours? Okay, ours is the top email. And then we also have a web page that is linked off of our KentuckyCourts.gov page, the Kentucky Judicial Commission on Mental Health. And then there is, Texas has a Facebook page that you can look at. We'll develop that later. Twitter account. We've been all a little busy. Somebody else is gonna have to do the Twitter. That's a mean place. I don't do mean places. Sorry. Just anyway, anything else before we close? We will be sending you notice of the next commission meeting. It will likely be in December because of the holidays and January being a little bit crazy also. It may be December 13th or the 15th. We don't know for sure yet. We'll confer with some other organizations who have meetings during that week before we settle finally on that. It looked as if the Zoom meeting participants worked out pretty well. And I hope that they felt connected with us. And we are thrilled to have you here and more excited than ever. Yes, one moment.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk a minute about the summit dates. That's the end of session, and I know that these dates are going to be really hard for legislators to participate in. So yeah, we'll be right at the end of the session. Some of our advocates and government affairs folks are going to be stuck in the Capitol too. So I might revisit those dates, maybe look at the first part of April, or, you know, we have 10 veto days, or after the 15th of April. Yeah. Oh, and spring break. I get that. Well, I mean, you know, it's so hard, I know, but I know that, you know, those dates might be difficult for a lot of folks.
Justice, we would like to have a group photo for everyone before we go. Where would you like that, sir?
I saw a trip. That
Ashley, do you know what they're doing? One thing that happened with their this kind of sure, yeah. Thank you.
I swear we
Hey. Take all this. Every time this happens.
Look, we tested too.
I know, every time, every time, so we've got to talk to them.
If we can go ahead and move on out for the photo, because you have some people that have to leave quickly.
Rachel, are we coming back? Thank you. We are not coming back to this people on Zoom. We will not be coming back for the meeting. So thank you all so much for your participation. I'll give you
You did really good on getting everybody to go back for each other. That was great. It was 10 times better than I would have ever thought. Like I was like, how do they know it's not there? I see. Great job. Not everybody takes a picture.
All right, sir. What's going on?